I live just outside Livingston, Montana. If you know the area, you'll know it's mostly quiet, small-town vibes. Lots of open land, few neighbors, and definitely nothing ever happens around here. Until it does. This happened less than a year ago, and I still can't explain any of it logically. I live in a cabin-style house on a small acre plot just off Brackett Creek Road. It's about 25 minutes from the main town, and my nearest neighbor is half a mile down a dirt road. My girlfriend had gone to visit her family in Bozeman for the weekend, so I was alone at home that Sunday night. I wasn't expecting anything, just planned on some frozen pizza, watching YouTube, and crashing early for work the next morning. At around 10:47 p.m., I was in the living room watching a video when my dog Ranger, a black lab, got up and walked to the door. He didn't bark, but he started growling low, like something was off. This wasn't normal. He's usually chill unless there's a deer or coyote around, but even then he barks. This was different. I paused the video and got up, flipped on the porch light, and looked out through the window in the door. First, I didn't see anything. Just the snow gently falling and the beam from the porch light cutting through it. Then I noticed something at the very end of my gravel driveway, probably 80 or 90 feet away. It was a person, standing dead still, not walking up, not looking around, just standing, at the very edge where the driveway meets the road. They were wearing dark clothes, maybe a hoodie or coat, and I think jeans. No flashlight, no phone light, nothing. I waited, thinking maybe they were lost. I opened the door just enough to call out, "You all right?" But got no answer. The person didn't even flinch, just stood there. That's when something felt wrong. I stepped back in and locked the door. I watched from the side window. Ranger hadn't stopped growling. I didn't want to call the police yet because technically, they weren't on my property. But then, about 2 minutes later, I checked again, and they were gone. Just gone. I opened the door again and walked out onto the porch with a flashlight, scanned the area, and couldn't see anything. No footsteps in the fresh snow leading away from the driveway. Nothing. It was like they vanished. I went back in and locked everything. Turned off all the lights except the one in the hallway. I even closed the blinds, which I normally don't do. Something about the stillness outside freaked me out more than I want to admit. By 12:12 a.m., I was in bed trying to sleep. I had my phone charging next to me and Ranger lying at the foot of the bed, still alert but calmer now. I was just starting to drift off when I heard what I can only describe as a thump, like someone had dropped something heavy on the porch. I froze. Ranger jumped off the bed and started barking, full volume this time. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and crept out of the room. I checked the porch again through the side window, and that's when I saw it. A handprint on the glass. But here's the thing, it wasn't from the outside. It was from the inside. It was on the inside of the glass door. I swear on my life, I had not opened that door again after the first time earlier. I had locked it. I triple-checked it. I completely panicked and called 911. While on the phone, I went into the spare room, locked the door, and waited. Dispatch said they were sending a sheriff's deputy and that it would take at least 20 minutes due to my location. While I was on the line, I heard something scraping along the back of the house, like nails or fingers dragging on the siding. At this point, Ranger was losing his mind, barking at every sound. I stayed locked in the room until I saw the lights of the deputy's vehicle pull into the driveway around 2:13 a.m. The deputy searched the entire property. There were no footprints anywhere around the house, no signs of forced entry, and when he checked the back, the snow was undisturbed, but I heard what I heard. The handprint was still there, smudged and damp on the inside of the glass. The deputy didn't have an answer. He suggested maybe I had sleepwalked or was stressed, but I was fully awake the entire time. The next morning, I went over every camera on my property. I have 2 trail cams set up at the front driveway for deer, cheap ones, but they work. At 10:44 p.m., there's a very brief frame showing a person just outside the beam of the headlights from my porch. Then, At 10:48 p.m., they're gone. No frames of them leaving. No images after that. Nothing. I changed the locks the next day. I installed more lights and cameras. I haven't seen anything since, but the handprint stayed on the glass for hours before fading. I took a photo of it. Sometimes I still stare at it, wondering how someone could have gotten inside without breaking anything and left that mark. I don't sleep well when I'm alone anymore, not in that house, and I never, ever leave the blinds open at night. I'm 27 and I live alone in a small rental house just outside Asheville, North Carolina, near Biltmore Forest. It's an older one-story house with a fenced-in backyard and a raised foundation that has a crawl space underneath. I moved in around November 2023 and nothing weird had happened until mid-January. On January 16th, I got home from work late, around 9:45 p.m. It had been raining lightly all day. You know that cold, steady rain that just makes everything feel heavy and quiet? That's what it was like. I made a quick dinner, watched an episode of The Fall of the House of Usher on Netflix, and went to bed around 11:15 p.m. Sometime after midnight, I woke up to the sound of movement, like scraping or dragging, from beneath the floorboards. It wasn't super loud, but loud enough that I actually sat up and listened. My first thought was, raccoons. Maybe they got into the crawl space. It happens. I got out of bed and walked through the hallway toward the kitchen to grab my phone and flashlight. But as I passed the living room, I heard it again. This time slower, like someone scooting or crawling. It wasn't coming from the walls. It was directly under my feet. I called my dad first. He lives about 30 minutes away, and he told me to stay calm, stay inside, and call the non-emergency police line just to be safe. I did that, and an officer said they'd send a unit to check it out, but it might take a bit due to another call. While I waited, I opened the back door and aimed my flashlight at the crawl space opening. The flap of the access panel was slightly open. That panel is supposed to be latched shut. I felt this drop in my stomach. I slowly closed the door and locked it. 10 minutes later, I was standing in the hallway again when I heard coughing underneath the floor. Not an animal, person, a raspy human cough. I didn't wait anymore. I called 911 directly and told them I thought someone was under my house. The dispatcher asked if I was safe, and I locked myself in the bathroom with a knife and waited. Police arrived around 1:32 a.m. I watched from the bathroom window as they searched around the house with flashlights. Then one of the officers shined his light into the crawl space and called out something I couldn't hear. Then I saw them draw their guns. They pulled a man out from under my house. He was soaking wet, muddy, and wearing what looked like a heavy black hoodie and jeans, completely covered in dirt. They cuffed him and walked him to the cruiser. I only got a quick look at him, but he looked older, maybe late 40s, white guy, scruffy beard, kind of gaunt. What scared me most was what they found under the house after they took him in. They told me he had a duffel bag with him. Inside it was a folding knife, a small crowbar, zip ties, and a rag soaked in some chemical. They couldn't say exactly what the rag was for, but told me to stay somewhere else that night. I ended up staying with my dad. Turns out, this guy had been arrested before for breaking into homes in Buncombe County, sometimes through attics, sometimes crawl spaces. No one knows how long he was under my house or how he got the panel open. My guess is he crawled in during the rain, thinking no one was home. But the fact that he stayed there, crawling beneath me while I slept, that's something I can't shake. The scariest part? When I checked my security cam footage the next day, I saw him on camera from the previous night. At 4:02 a.m. the night before, he was seen walking slowly around my backyard in the rain with no umbrella, just circling, like he was scouting. I moved out 2 weeks later. I don't do old houses anymore. I don't do crawl spaces. I sleep with a crowbar beside my bed now. The idea that someone could be right under you without you knowing, that changes how you think about being alone at night forever. My name is Danny. I'm 28 now, and I live alone in a small 2-bedroom apartment in Eugene, Oregon, not far from where I grew up. This story happened between March and May of 2022, and I haven't told many people about it in detail. Not even my current boyfriend knows the full extent. It started with a Facebook message. I got it one random night from someone named Greg Hensley. I honestly didn't recognize the name right away, but when I clicked on his profile, I saw that we had gone to high school together. He was a grade below me, quiet guy, kind of forgettable, not in a mean way, just someone who kept to himself and wasn't really in anyone's radar. His message just said, "Hey Danny, I saw your profile pop up and figured I'd say hi. Long time LOL. Hope you're well. Harmless, right?" I replied politely, "Hey Greg, yeah, it's been a while. Hope you're doing good too." That was it. No response. Didn't think anything of it. But then, a week later, I noticed someone walking past my apartment window around 10 p.m. I live on the ground floor, and my living room window faces a sidewalk that leads to the complex's trash bins. Nothing weird about that, except he passed twice in 10 minutes. Hood up, walking slow. He looked familiar, but I couldn't be sure in the dark. Then over the next few weeks, weird things started happening. I'd wake up and see finger smudges on my car windows. Once I found an envelope stuck under my windshield wiper with nothing inside it. No note, just an empty envelope. One morning, I left for work and found that the potted plant I keep on my small front stoop had been moved. Not tipped over, just moved to the other side of the door. No wind that day. I remember that because it bugged me. Felt intentional. I changed my Facebook privacy settings right away, but by late April, I started to feel like I was being watched. Not all the time, but enough that I started double-checking my locks, taking a different route to work, looking over my shoulder at the gas station. Then came the scariest night of my life, April 14th, 2022. I had gone out with some coworkers to a bar downtown and got home a little after 10 p.m. I parked in my usual spot, walked to my door, and noticed something on the doormat. A photo. A printed 4x6 glossy photo. It was of me, taken from behind. I was walking out of my gym. Same outfit I wore 3 days earlier. I froze. My keys were shaking in my hand. I looked around but didn't see anyone. I ran inside, locked everything, turned off the lights, and called the police. While on the phone, I remembered that my apartment complex has an exterior hallway cam facing the lot. I asked the property manager the next morning to review it. She showed me footage from that night. Someone in a hooded jacket walked directly up to my door at 10:18 p.m., 5 minutes before I got home, left the photo, and walked away. Not ran, not hurried, just strolled off like he had all the time in the world. Police filed a report, but since there was no actual break-in or physical threat, there wasn't much they could do. No fingerprints either. I was told to stay vigilant and document everything, so I bought pepper spray. I started crashing at friends' houses on and off. Then I got one last message on Facebook, 2 weeks later, from a new profile with no profile picture. "I always remembered you. You didn't remember me. That hurt. That was the last straw." I moved in with my sister in Portland for 2 months after that, just to clear my head. I changed my phone number, deleted my socials, got a new car. Never heard from him again. But here's the part that really chills me. About 6 months later, I went back home briefly to pack some stuff I'd left behind. While I was in my apartment, a maintenance guy came by to check a leak reported by the unit above me. He looked around, then casually asked, "Hey, didn't you used to have a crawl space hatch in your bedroom closet?" I didn't know what he was talking about. I never noticed one. He looked confused, pulled back the carpet in my closet. And there it was, a sealed hatch door under the carpet. The latch had been snapped off. Inside was empty, except for a folded blanket and 2 crushed Red Bull cans. I moved out permanently after that. I don't care what it cost me to break the lease. I don't even care if he ever shows up again. I just know that for a while, Someone I barely remembered made it his mission to make sure I would never forget him.